Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Thank you. Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Premsha Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Syama Kunda Radha Kunda Givir Govardhana ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Mayi ki jai. Yamuna Mayi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So we are reading Canto 8, Chapter 2, text number 33. Where are my glasses? Om Narayanam Namaskritya Naranjaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, let's offer our respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, to the supermost human being, Naranarayana Rishi, to the Goddess of Learning, Mother Saraswati, and to the author, Srila Vyasadeva. By regular attendance of Bhagavatam class and rendering service to a pure devotee, devotional service unto the Supreme Lord is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yaha Kṣṇesho Balino Antakauraghat Prachanda Vegad Abhidhavato Bhrusham Bhitam Prapannam Paripati Yadbhayan Mrutyuhu Pradhavati Aranam Tam Imahi. Yaha Kṣṇesho Balinon Takoragat Yat Kṣṇesho Balinon Takoragat Yaha Kṣṇesho Balinon Takoragat Prachanda Vegada Bidhavato Bhrusham Prachanda Vegada Bidhavato Bhrusham Bhitam Prapannam Paripati Yadbhayan Bhitam Prapannam Paripati Yadbhayan Mrutyu Pradhavatyaranam Tamimahi Mrutyu Pradhavatyaranam Tamimahi. Yaha. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Yes, please. Prachanda Vegada Vidhavato Bhrusham Bhitam Prapannam Paripati Yadbhayan Bhitam Prapannam Paripati Yadbhayan Mrityu Pradhavatyaranam Tamimahi. Tamimahi. Kṣṇesho Bhalinam Takoragat Prachanda Vegada Vidhavato Bhrusham Bhitam Prapannam Paripati Yadbhayan Pratyukpradhavatyaranam tamimahi. Kaschanesha valeno takoragat. Chandavego dabitavato brisham. Praschanesho balenom takoragat. Prapannam paripati yadbhayam. Mrityupradavatyaranam tamimahi. Ladies? Yakaschanesho baleno takoragat. Prachanda vegata vidhavato vrusham. Vitam prapannam paripati yadbhayan. Mrityupradhavatyaranam tamimahi. Anybody online? Yaha, he who, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kṛṣṇa, someone. Ishaha, the Supreme Controller. Balinaha, very powerful. Antaka uragat, from the great serpent of time, which brings death. Prachanda vegat, whose force is fearful. Abhidhavataha, who is chasing. Bhrusham, endlessly, every hour and every minute. Bhitam, one who is afraid of death. Prapannam, who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Paripati, he protects. Yat bhayat, from the fear of the Lord. Mrityuhu, death itself. Pradhavati, runs away. Aranam, the actual shelter of everyone. Tam, unto him. Imahi, I surrender or take shelter. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly not known to everyone, but he is very powerful and influential. Therefore, although the serpent of eternal time, which is fearful in force, endlessly chases everyone, ready to swallow him, if one who fears this serpent seeks shelter of the Lord gives him protection, for even death runs away in fear of the Lord. I therefore surrender unto him, the great and powerful Supreme Authority, who is the actual shelter of everyone. Translation repeat, please. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is certainly not known to everyone, but he is very powerful and influential. Therefore, although the serpent of eternal time, which is fearful in force, endlessly chases everyone, ready to swallow him, if one who fears this serpent seeks shelter of the Lord gives him protection, for even death runs away in fear of the Lord. I therefore surrender unto him, the great and powerful Supreme Authority, who is the actual shelter of everyone. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. One who is intelligent understands that there is a great and supreme authority above everything, That great authority appears in different incarnations to save the innocent from disturbances, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.8. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam. The Lord appears in his various incarnations for two purposes: to annihilate the dushkruti, the sinful, and to protect his devotees. The king of the elephants decides to surrender unto him. This is intelligent. One must know the great Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender unto him. The Lord comes personally to instruct us how to be happy, and only fools and rascals do not see by intelligence this supreme authority, the Supreme Person. In the Sruti Mantra it is said, Bishasmad Vata Pavate Bijodeti Surayaha Bishasmad Agnis Chandrascha Mrityur Dhavati Panchamaha. Taittiriya Upanishad 2.8. It is out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the wind is blowing, the sun is distributing heat and light, and that death is chasing everyone. Thus there is a Supreme Controller, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Mayadhyakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam. This material manifestation is working so well because of the Supreme Controller. Any intelligent person, therefore, can understand that there is a Supreme Controller. Furthermore, the Supreme Controller himself appears as Lord Krishna, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as Lord Ramachandra to give us instructions and to show us by example how to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet those who are dushkriti, the lowest of men, do not surrender. Namam dushkritino mudhaha prapadyante naradhamaha. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord clearly states, Mrityu sarva haraschaham. I am all devouring death. Thus, Mrityu, or death, is the representative who takes everything away from the living entity who is accepted a material body. No one can say, I do not fear death. This is a false proposition. Everyone fears death. However, one who seeks shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be saved from death. One may argue, does the devotee not die? The answer is that a devotee certainly must give up his body, for the body is material. The difference is, however, that for one who surrenders to Krishna fully and who is protected by Krishna, the present body is his last. He will not again receive a material body to be subjected to death. This is assured in Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. A devotee, after giving up his body, does not accept a mere material body, but returns home back to Godhead. We are always in danger because at any moment death can take place. It is not that only Gajendra, the king of the elephants, was afraid of death. Everyone should fear death because everyone is caught by the crocodile of eternal time and may die at any moment. The best course, therefore, is to seek shelter of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and be saved from the struggle for existence in this material world, in which one repeatedly takes birth and dies. To reach this understanding is the ultimate goal of life. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 2nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Elephant Gajendra's Crisis. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharani. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha, krupasindhubhyevacha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langayate girim, yat krupatamaham vande, Sri Gurum Dinataranam, Paramananda Madhavam, Sri Chaitanya Mishram. Hare Om, that's it. Okay. Hare Krishna, everybody. Good morning. This is one of my favorite leelas in the Bhagavatam. as a child growing up, this the main stories or leelas that always are talked about to children are Prahlad, Dhruva Charitra, and Gajendra Moksham. So these are the three. So these like stick to us all the time. And I remember this Gajendra Moksham. My father would tell us this story when we were children. Of course, I never knew it was for the Bhagavatam and all that. It was just stories, right? My dad would tell stories all the time. We'd be driving to the temple, and he'd tell a story. Oh, if we got in trouble about something, then he would tell, oh, well, let me tell you a story. And they always have morals and stuff. And obviously, these stories are from the Bhagavatam. Later, as I got older, and he taught us a verse. This is in Telugu. My language is Telugu. One of the Potana, Bammera Potana, is a very famous poet, famous saint poet, like the Goswamis and stuff. And he actually took the Bhagavatam and he translated it into Telugu. And beautiful poetry. The English does not do justice to the degree of grief and pain that Gajendra is going through. I mean, he is down and out. I mean, so imagine yourself as a human being getting caught by a crocodile, or alligator, right? Being caught by, and just imagine, or how many of you have seen Jaws? Okay, so remember, I don't know, maybe that was before your time. It wasn't, okay, but that idea of being caught in the jaws of death. So jaws of this crocodile. I mean, he is in pain. I mean, you go blank. Just think about being in the dentist chair and getting a root canal or something. Are you thinking about Krishna at that time? Well, you might be thinking about Krishna, but you're just so, completely consumed by that pain, and you're just think of that. That is his mood. And these like I was saying, these prayers that Potana chants, and the other reason why this is so powerful for me is because my mother-in-law would read to me these verses in Telugu from Potana's Bhagavatam, and they were beautiful, the way his agony that is explained in there, and then how the Lord saves him. I mean, it's just beautiful, the whole thing. But and Krishna is, like I said, very, very. He's always granting our desires. This poem that is written in Telugu is done in like really. Like Shakespearean Telugu, so like if you're reading Shakespeare, you have to know how to read Shakespeare to really understand it, Old English, right? So it's like old Telugu. So I don't really understand it that much, but they're just beautiful. And so I was thinking, God, I wish I could, learn these and understand them really, really well. And so I get this verse, and I'm looking at Gajendra's story, and my, as I said, my mother-in-law would always read it to me, and she would always tell me, Pani, remember that we need to read this every day because we need to remember this when we're on our deathbed. We need to remember this when we're on our deathbed. So, so I get this, and I was thinking about this, meditating about my mother-in-law reading. I wish I had these verses. So, of course, I go on the internet, and I find the verses written in Telugu. I can read Telugu, but it's very, very, like I said, advanced Telugu. And it's got transliteration of each of the words, and it has a whole translation. I was like, oh, my God, Krishna. I asked for something like this and you just gave it to me. And I would never have really looked for it except I got this verse. So I said, okay, I should do some research, So this is, like I say, this is how I see Krishna always listening to me. And Krishna is always listening to us. And that's what this is about. Question for you. When you've been reading this Leela, what came to mind when you were reading it? Like, did you remember any other pastimes? When he's talking about Gajendra, what came to mind? Anybody? Yeah, Dravida, you get one choice. Tell me.
I recalled one of his prayers,
okay,
which I memorized long ago, and it's still my favorite. I'm glad I excavated it from my brain. Ekantino yasanakantanatam. So he's got the lotus flower up. He's somehow speaking this. Ekantino yasanakantanatam vantantayeva bhagavat papanna atyadbhutam tat charitam sumangalam gayant ananda samugna magna. So one who is ekantino, who's one fixed on the Lord. and doesn't want any material benefit from. Na kanchanatam vanchanti, yeva bhagavatapana, surrender to the Lord. When such a person sings about the atyadbhutam tatcharitam, most wonderful pastimes, were extremely auspicious. Atyadbhutam tatcharitam sumangalam gayanta ananda samugdamang. He dives in an ocean of ananda. And I was hoping that one day I can achieve that.
Thank you. And how about Leelas, past Leelas in the Bhagavatam? Gajendra, an animal? Any hints? Does it remind you of anybody? Another animal? Person? Past birth? Okay, Ram. Another animal had a previous birth, and then he became a human being. And right, King Bharat, right? Right? He had remembered his fast birth, and then he became a deer because of his attachment. You know, anything else came to mind? Now, I really, really encourage everybody that when you're reading the Bhagavatam, don't just read the verse. I mean, of course, read the verse, but don't just read the verse. But let your mind think, like, what does this remind me of? What else is there do I remember about this? What else do you guys remember? Anything about... many people think that this is an allegory, that it's not really happening. Okay, that it's just an allegory. Do we have, okay, giving you that hint, do we have another allegory in the Bhagavatam? Another example. What about King Prachina Barhi, the Puranjana story? Right? Right? What's happening? So his whole thing, Prachina Barhi is a king, he's doing all these sacrifices. Narada, when he comes to him and says, you know, do you realize what you're doing? And he tells him the story of Puranjana, who is the king who sees this beautiful palace of 9 gates. He enters it, and then he gets attached to a woman. And the whole allegory is talking about how a soul enters a body, becomes attached, performs all these, you know, sometimes pious activities, sometimes sinful activities, and is suffering. And at the time of death, he forgets. He doesn't remember, you know, real meaning. He's attached to his wife. He gets born again as a woman, but her husband happens to be a very pious person. And eventually, in this story, the understanding is that he eventually understands his role as a soul and his connection to Krishna. So the Bhagavatam from the beginning is trying to teach us in one way or another the ultimate goal of life. So what is Srila Prabhupada saying the ultimate goal of life is? Antakale, at the end of death, what do we want to do? Right? Remember Krishna. However way you can do that, remember Krishna. Now, the reason why I found this, and of course there's a Jamil. A story of Ajamila, right? Ajamila had a nice life, devotee background, fell down, remembers Krishna as a sidebar. Like, it's not even directly remember Krishna. He just remembers his son who's named Narayana, and then he gets saved by the Vishnu Dhutas, right? So whether it's Krishna or his devotee, somebody will come. Krishna sends somebody. And so all these different things, I mean, these different connections we need to make, we need to remember. But what's really beautiful, as another thing I encourage you to do is read ahead and read back. Read ahead, remind yourself where we're going. And these verses are beautiful because I want you to keep something in mind. Does he even say the name of the Lord in these prayers? So think about that. Think about that. We have to remember the name of the Lord. But does he even remember? He says the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He does the Lord. He says, of course, we know who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, but somebody who's just regular, he's just the Lord, the Lord, the Lord. But he doesn't really say the name. So I keep that in mind. Srila Prabhupada gives a hint in one of the purports. And to me, it's just exciting when I see this. The reason why I say it's exciting is because there's this one thought that, will I remember Krishna at the time of death? Let me find this verse. This also reminds me of Kulashekar Alvar, the Mukunda Mala Stotra of Kulashekar Alvar. As I said, when I read this, different things click. So when you get an idea of something you remember, I tell you, follow it. Follow that. That's Krishna telling you, delve deeper into this. And the reason why I tell you to delve deeper is because this is how you relish the Bhagavatam. This is how the Bhagavatam comes alive to you. So this is from Kulashekar Alvar. And I also found out that this is one of the verses that is in, Srila Prabhupada, there's a book called Srila Prabhupada's Most Quoted Verses or something. This is actually in there. So this is one of the ones that he quotes often. And this is what it is. It's Krishna tvadiya pada pankaja panjarantam adyaiva me vishatu manasa rajahamsaha prana prayana samaye kapavata pittai kantavarodhana vidau smaranam kutaste. Lord Krishna, O Lord Krishna, at this moment, let the royal swan of my mind enter the tangled stems of your lotus feet. How will it be possible for me to remember you at the time of death, when my throat will be choked up with mucus, bile, and air? So, at the time of death, that is our position. We are choked up. We have no way of really remembering much unless we practice. And when people are going through medical school, when doctors are going through medical schools, they gave them those long hours, and they make them have, what is it called? When you do your residency. When they're doing their residency, they make them go for like 36 hours, or I don't know how many hours, but continuously with no rest at all. And it's a training, and the reason why they do this is because they want it to be like second nature. Like, they don't want you to have to think when there's somebody on the operating table, oh, what do I do now? It's just automatic. So that's how we want to be. We want to be in a state of mind where we don't think about chanting Hare Krishna. You're driving along and you see something, say, oh, Krishna. This reminds me of something, sidebar. When we were little, we'd always say, I don't know if you guys do, we said, oh man, like we would say it. My dad would say, why do you have to say man, man, man? Do you want a man? He said, you should say, oh, Hanuman. So we would go around saying, oh, and my dad would say, oh, Hanuman, instead of saying, oh, Hanuman. So anyway, sorry about that. It just reminded me. But, so automatically we want to be able to chant the name of the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada has given it to us, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us so simply. Just chant Hare Krishna. Just chant Hare Krishna so that it becomes second nature. So anytime you're anywhere, that's the first thing that comes to mind. This needs to become a habit. When my mother-in-law was passing away, as I said, she had told me this Gajendra Moksha needs to be chanted, Pani, all the time. You have to remember it. And I was thinking, at the time, I was thinking, oh, I need to put something on for her. Everybody else was chanting and everything. And I just opened my browser, and Gajendra Moksham came up in Telugu Potana's Bhagavatam. And I put it on. I was like, oh, my God, Krishna, thank you. And she would always say, my in-laws are very with traditional families. So if they oh, Rama, when they would get up off the chair, oh, Rama, oh, Ramachandra, oh, Krishna, like this, that would be the go-to. And I was thinking, see, this habit of using these words all the time, why do we say Haribol? Why do we say Haribol all the time, right? Even in other languages, Vaya con Dios, they say in Spanish. Why do they say that? In all traditions, this understanding of remembering God at all times is there. And these prayers that are given to us, again, these prayers are so powerful. The other prayer I think of is Bhishma Dev's prayers when he's on his deathbed. Right, and he's chanting, and he asks the Lord, "Please be in front of me. I want to see you when I'm passing." All these different devotees, are requesting the Lord's presence. Keep that in mind, they're all asking for the Lord specifically, or his name specifically. Read on about Gajendra. Think about Gajendra. And the reason I say this, I don't want to say anything that's going to happen, so I'll stop there. But I don't want to, give away the plot. I can't even think of the words. Yeah, don't want to give away the plot. But I do recommend you guys to read ahead so that you guys are prepared when book gives class, that you can meditate upon this whole thing. But anytime, even Krishna doesn't forget. And there's this verse in the Varaha Purana. Is it Varaha Purana? Let me look what it says. Okay, this is another verse that really. How am I going to remember Krishna? This was always my thought, like, how am I going to remember Krishna? Like, I'm afraid. What if I forget Krishna? I'm practicing, but I don't know. I'm not like Bhishma Dev. I'm not like, Prahlad or Dhruva, or, I may not even be like a Jamila. I might even remember, my name of my kids. What state will I be in at that point? And this verse, I had read this a long time ago, and one of my favorite verses, this one. Yadi vatadi doshena mad bhaktamam nachasmaret Krishna aham smarami mad bhakta nayami paramagatim. So it says, how do I do this? So bad at phones. Okay. If my devotee is unable to remember me at the time of death because of the disturbance felt within the body at that time, then I shall remember my devotee and take him back to my supreme abode. From the Varaha Purana. So I thought, and Gajendra's story, as I said, does he remember the name of the Lord? Does he remember the Lord? He's just saying, he who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's all he said. Now, another thing we need to remember, of course, is that all these people have a past history. All these people, whether it be Bhishma Dev, whether it be Ajamila, whether it be Prachina Barhi, whether it be, Gajendra, King Bharat, all of them had some connection somehow to Krishna, somehow to a devotee, to Krishna, to some connection. And so and the fact that we're here right now, or the fact that anybody gets a book, that means they've made the connection. That's all they need to do. Isn't that amazing? That makes me so excited that I don't have to worry if I remember Krishna or not, because he's going to remember me. Just think about that. He's going to remember me just because I said his name once. Just because I offered him a flower once, he's going to remember me. Now, is he going to take me back to Godhead? I don't know. But does it matter? He knows me. He knows me. He knows me. He remembers me. He's going to keep an eye on me all the way through all my lifetimes. He's going to keep an eye on me. Now, just think about that. Just think about that guarantee. That in itself gives us hope, can make us fearless. And I can tell you, I have been afraid of death all my life because I'm thinking, number one, I don't want to go through that pain. And Srila Prabhupada explains that in one of the purport that actually we're the body, we're in so much pain that the soul says, I'm getting out of here. I'm kicking this place and I'm leaving. And that's why they leave. So we're in a lot of pain, and that's scary. Pain is scary. And I'm afraid of the pain, and I'm afraid of death. But you know what? I'm not that afraid anymore. I'm holding on to the fact that Krishna remembers me, he knows me, and he loves me. And that's what the Bhagavatam is telling us. Through all these stories and all these examples of people who remember Krishna as a sidebar, who don't remember Krishna himself and know there's a supreme authority. Even the fact, and Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport, he said, if you don't have any training in anything, you don't have any religious background or whatever, it doesn't really matter. You can see that there's somebody in charge. And if you just say, whoever that is in charge, please help me. That's all you have to say. And Krishna sends somebody. Isn't that another amazing thing? Krishna sends somebody every time. That's what the Bhagavatam teaches us. And that's what's amazing to me. So these prayers, and another thing that's really also important is, and it's not just in this book, it's not just in these traditions, so many prayers of so many different saints, if they're of the Catholic tradition or the, other traditions, Jewish tradition, there's so many prayers, prayers for St. Francis of Assisi, Saint Teresa de Avila, all these saints, they had this connection with the Lord, and they have these prayers. So whatever prayer can touch our hearts, that can remind us of the Lord, that's what we hold on to. And it can just be one single thing, or it can just be the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every single solitary day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you. Any comments or questions or corrections or anything? I don't know if I'm like I said, I just get so excited when I see these connections. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Phanesvari. My experience over the years, I have been asked to attend devotees who are passing. They request that I come and chant Hare Krishna. So at least a half a dozen times I've been there with devotees. And I always, and of course Prabhupada showed, that surround yourself with devotees chanting Hare Krishna. That's the safest way to go, So I see it as, that's one of the most important ways in which we increase our chances of remembering Krishna at the last moment, is to be with devotees. That's why that's that song, Bhaja Hore Manashinam Abhaya Charana Vindure. I'm sorry, I know the English. O wretched foolish mind, just give up all deceit and worship Krishna's fearless lotus feet. Don't waste this human life, stay close to devotees and cross this worldly sea of miseries. So the whole society, the fact that it is a society and Sangha is so important, because at that critical moment, if you're surrounded by devotees chanting, you have a very good chance of remembering Krishna.
Yes.
And I remember so many instances, I remember Ojasvi and Radhanath Swami, and there was one devotee, I forget his name, but I got a call. I'm chanting japa here, and says, oh, he's leaving and he wants you to come with a garland, to the hospital. So I took the Prabhupada's garland, I took Prabhupada's garland. And I drove, but I took a route that wasn't the fastest route. I was worried I was late. I get to the hospital parking lot, I run upstairs, and there's Kanka, and he's already about ready to pass. She was a nurse,
Right.
and she was there standing there and feeling the pulse, and his wife and grown-up children were there nearby. So I brought the garland, and I gave him the garland, and like 1 minute later he left. He was like waiting for that garland.
Waiting for the garland. Maybe he was.
And, this is a story, because we're talking about the moment of leaving. Everyone remembers Padmavati. You remember Padmavati?
Yes.
And she was a fan of mine, and she would come to my classes. She would come, when I first started them, she would come alone sometimes. Well, I can't give a class to one lone woman, you have to bring someone else. So she would, bring this one, that one. Anyway, finally it came to that point. It was January in 2011. I remember the time. It was in the Kadashis. It's almost 14 years ago exactly. And she calls me and just says, I'm going to the hospital. I say, what's the matter? I can't breathe, of course, So I get there, and Rajendranand was with me. He was great with this. He spent hours with Radhanath when he was in the hospital, before. Anyway, so we were chanting there, and chanting like the disappearance tune, Hare Krishna, like a very simple tune, probably. And who walks in but Brajabadu and Ladli? You remember that, Ladli? Ladli was there. She was taking care of Brajabadu. And they stayed for a little while, but then Brajabadu, she had some help, so she had to leave. So just me and Rajendranand. And we're chanting. Then finally she had 3 children, grown-up children, 1 daughter and 2 sons who flew in from different parts of the country. And they came in and said, well, it's the time, because they didn't say pull the plug, but the equivalent. I said, okay, well, this really is important if we can keep chanting. He said, no, we want to be a family affair. And I said, okay, what are we going to say? So we walked just a couple of doors down. There was a lobby there. So we were waiting. 15 minutes later, one of the sons comes in, a grown-up boy. So you better come back. She's not leaving, We walk in and she's trying to breathe, she's trying to hang in there and waiting for us. We come back, within 2 minutes she left,
I remember that.
Yeah, but anyways, that's one of the most important parts of the whole society, that people are ready to come and see you off, And of course we had Shamali was very successful, her father was there, and so many devotees.
Yeah.
And Rajendrananda, of course, too.
Yeah. Yeah, and my dad, that's exactly what my dad, he goes, I don't want you guys just sitting there crying and all that stuff. I want you to be chanting the whole time. And so that's what we did. We were all chanting around him. Him, my mother, my mother-in-law, all of us were there.
And Yamunapati, they called us when Kamala Sundari was leaving.
Yes.
It was a little before she left, but she was, there. And so we went and we did this kirtan. And she was having trouble, and her vitals were going down. But after the kirtan, they had come up.
Yeah.
And then as we were leaving, Bhadra Narayan Swami was coming, And so she had an association. It was auspicious.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
Thank you for the class. I have a question. It's nice that you mentioned that Krishna remembers us. But also it is known that Krishna fulfills our desires, and the problem that Krishna remembers us, but we can, desire something else, not him.
Yeah.
What we should do is
well, see, the thing is, yes. Well, first we can tell Krishna, I'm not a pure devotee yet. I've got all these desires, but I do want to go to you. Can you please, give me whatever, do whatever needs to be, happen so that I could get connected to you, number one. Other thing is, even if we have other desires at the end of death, at least we're still going to be connected to Krishna. So you may have to come back because you had some unfulfilled desires, but you'll still be in connected to Krishna. So you'll still be on your path of bhakti. So that's, so you can be comforted with that thought. I may not get there, but at least Krishna's there. I'm always going to remember him, some way or another.
And also, we don't know what in our heart, but Krishna knows.
Yeah.
And so we, from the mind, we can speak to him. Oh, Krishna, I want to you, go to you. But in our heart, we don't know
but one thing you need to understand, Krishna wants us back more than we want to go. You see, so that's what we need to understand, is that he is begging us, come on, come this way. I think as a parent, if you're as a parent, you would understand this. You're like telling your kid, telling you this is not good for you. But you can't force them, right? You can't force them to do anything. Even at the age of 4 and 5, you can't force them to do anything, much less at a teenage age, okay? So you want the best for your child. You want them to do the right thing. You want them to come home. And they're like, nah, I want to go party with my friends, or what are you going to do? Whatever you can, basically. You will do whatever you can to finally get them, by hook or by crook, one way or another. At the end of the day, somehow you're going to get that kid home. That's what a parent does. That's exactly what Krishna's mood is. So his whole goal is to get us back. And he will do it any way he can, because he loves us that much. Okay. Yes, please.
Starts, but everyone knows this. But he's speaking to Yudhishthira, I think, on the battlefield of Kṛṣṇa, when they all meet, something. And to those who I show my real mercy, I take everything away. Probably related to this verse, And then after that, their wife he's useless. They kick him out, So he's got nothing else. I just have to take shelter of me. So that may happen also.
And my prayer is, please don't let me be that foolish, okay? Please don't. Like I said, I'm not a tough love kind of person. I like soft love, okay? So I say, don't use tough love on me, please, Krishna. So that's my prayer. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Sankarshan Prabhu.
Thank you for this class. I had a question about, I guess, the last part you mentioned about when you leave your body, you still have material desires, and then so you're going to come back. I've been thinking about it lately. Is it also because you're dealing with, like, once you start practicing devotional service, your previous karma is wiped away, but you're still receiving the fruit of your present karma? So that's still meant, like, you're still working through that. So that's why you take another birth? Like, you still have these material desires and whatnot? Is that how that works?
To tell you the truth, the law of karma and how karma works is very, very complicated. So I could not tell you for sure. All I know is that some of the karmas that we go through can be worse than what we're feeling right now, because Krishna, protects us. He gives us a token because we are trying to get on the path of bhakti. So we get like a free pass sometimes. But as far as when it happens, if it's past activities, present activities, couldn't tell you. It's too complicated, beyond my pay grade. Yes, Ladley. Can we get her? Wait, can we get her a mic? Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Pani. It was a beautiful class, and the verse is so significant for our advancement in Krishna consciousness. It's the most important to realize our position and make set up our life in such a way that we can remember Krishna. Yeah. So I had an experience just a couple hours ago during my sleep. It was early morning hours. I had a quick dream. I was in my home doing my housework, and I went towards the front door. Somebody's head was popped in my door. I thought it was like a salesperson. And I said, I don't mind talking to you, but you need to step the rest of your body outside my front door. And then the next moment, another person popped their head. Next thing I know, I'm pushed against a wall with chloroform on my mouth, and I'm dying. And I go, and my last thought was like, I am in such a helpless position right now. I'm helpless. I have no idea what's going to happen. And it was just a matter of seconds. This all happened in seconds. And when I woke up, first I went, is this a dream? And I woke up, and I was so thankful it was a dream, because I felt so helpless.
Yeah.
Usually when I wake up in the morning, I don't usually meditate on Krishna, but for some reason this morning, a couple hours after this dream, I laid in bed, and I just said, I really want to take a couple moments and think about Krishna. And I just started at his feet, and I worked my whole way up, and I said, these are the hands that play his flute, these are the arms that protect Radharani, these are the arms that protect the devotees, and I said, please protect me. And so I get up, and I told my husband, I said, I meditated on Krishna before I woke up this morning. I didn't tell him about the dream I had, but I told him how I just spent a few moments meditating on Krishna. I said, you know what? My whole consciousness completely changed, but just by taking those few moments just to think about Krishna and his position and his authority and his love and grace in our life. And then I started my work day, and I just happened to get a ride to give somebody down to Mission Bay. And I thought, you know what? It's 7 o'clock. It's traffic time. I'm going to go to the temple, and I just want to be with the devotees and be with Krishna and be very thankful for what Krishna's done in my life. So that dream really put me in such a helpless position, like, okay, this is it. This is, and I was so thankful when I woke up, it was just a dream.
But that is our position, right? That is the position.
This experience was so connected to the verse that you just...
And Krishna brought you here today.
I had no idea I'd end up here this morning, but I'm very thankful I'm here. Thank you,
lovely.
Well, I didn't know that this morning when I parked. I go, that car behind me looks familiar.
You just told them the dream.
I know. Yeah. So, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.